Serious people of Reddit who have gone through or are going through cancer. What was the first sign that made you go to the doctor? I was fooling around in a mall as a kid. So my dad grabbed me by the neck to make me behave. He felt a lump on my neck and immediately began to get nervous. We went to the doctor the next day, caught the cancer before it spread and was able to surgically remove it about a month later. Got super lucky. My 33-year-old husband was diagnosed with inoperable glioblastoma, most aggressive brain cancer, in January 2019. When he was 31. What caused him to get a check? Was persistent headache that didn't go away with paracetamols and sleep. We discovered the tumors after taking an MRI. Needless to say, our lives were changed forever. Now we are at the end of our journey. And it's been a harrowing experience for me as his wife and caregiver. It's a lonely journey. I don't wish it upon anyone, and no one has any idea what glioblastoma is like. Unless they have gone through it. The median survival time is 14 to 18 months. We are on our 18th month now. And given days, weeks left. Every day is a gift. And I'm glad I get to be holding his hands every day. Even if he's resting and sleeping most of the time. As long as he is not in pain. And that the morphine patches are working. That is fine by me. I can't handle him going through any more pain. Edit. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Giving me strength and support. And I'm so blessed to even be receiving all of your kindness. It's such a touchy subject and I'm hurt all the time. But you guys being so kind really makes me cry happy tears. I'm so touched. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel a little bit lifted. And that's more than I can ask for. From the internet, my husband, Victor, would have been so grateful to know that he is loved and supported by more people than he thought he was. Thank you, heart. Funnily enough, it was a totally unrelated lump. Nope, that lump is fine, just a lipoma. However, we found another lump in the corner of your X-ray and we need to biopsy it. My mom had something pretty close to this. Had a stroke, so lots of scans. One of them just caught the edge of something. Tennis ball-sized mass in her chest. Whack. Turned out it wasn't anything particularly nasty, but it seemed crazy she never knew it was there. My sister noticed a small painful lump in her breast shortly after having her second child. Doctor diagnosed a blocked mammary gland. A couple weeks later it still wasn't gone. Again doc said blocked gland. Months later it's still not gone and she insists on getting a second opinion. Stage 3 breast cancer. Double mastectomy immediately followed by months of agonizing radiation and chemo only to find out it's now stage 4. She's been stable for a few years but now it's spreading again and we don't know how long we have her. Trying to be as positive as possible. On Christmas Eve 2018, my dad lost the ability to talk except for the phrase, "This is crazy." Called paramedics because we thought he'd had a stroke. Got him to the hospital where the imaging showed a brain tumor on the outside edge of his brain. The swelling caused him to have a seizure. He was transferred to a bigger local hospital. They did full body scans because it's pretty rare to just have brain cancer, usually it's a secondary for another cancer site. We got lucky in that it was the sole spot. Went through a craniotomy and 5 rounds of high-dose inpatient chemo. And he's 1 year in remission. I had a persistent pain in the middle of my sternum. Doctors thought it was costochondritis, essentially just inflammation of a joint. I stopped working out and lifting heavy things for 3 months but it didn't go away. Eventually I started having night sweats and random aches. After I fractured my hip, I got an MRI and biopsy and they diagnosed me with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I got chemo and I've been in remission for 5 years. Edit. I'm seeing a lot of people describing a similar chest pain and getting scared. Not all chest pain is cancer and not all cancer is chest pain. I felt the pain in my chest because my tumor happened to be growing there. It could just as easily have grown somewhere else. And my story might have started with describing a persistent pain in the middle of my shin. If you're worried about something, talk to your doctor. My dad thought he had the flu and went to urgent care. By the end of the weekend he had started chemotherapy. He had acute myeloid leukemia. Made it 6 years though, so not bad. My dad was acting strange. He looked disheveled somewhat and was telling the same stories. Well, he's 86. That can come with age. But he was also swerving on the road driving, and he called me one day to take him to his doctor. Long story short, stage 4 GBM, brain cancer. Had surgery. Was okay for a couple of months but was gone a couple months after that. Good part was, had no pain and didn't suffer. Edit, thank you. Seizures. I got seizures out of nowhere during the night. No history of seizures in my family. Got my head screened and they found what they thought to be a benign tumor. Anaplastic astrocytoma. Diagnosed 2 months before my 22nd birthday. Nearing the 5-year mark. Though, with no evidence of it returning. My brother was 11 when he started experiencing symptoms. He started losing a lot of weight. And when he was playing soccer it looked like he was running through mud and couldn't keep up with everyone else. My parents took him to the pediatrician and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. One day, he woke up and couldn't stop throwing up. When he tried to run to the bathroom, he kept running into the door frame and couldn't walk straight. He said the lights were giving him a headache. We took him to the emergency room and they found that he had a brain tumor. And had emergency brain surgery the next day. We were extremely lucky that they decided to do a CAT scan at the ER. Apparently they don't usually do them on kids. 2 brain surgeries and a year and a half of chemo later. And he is in remission now. My head and neck area became very swollen. At first I thought I was just getting fat. So I worked out a lot and ate better. This did not help. I also went to a local clinic and they thought it might be an allergic reaction and gave me steroids. Which also didn't help. The thing that finally made me go to the emergency room and not leave until I had an answer is that I started to develop unexplained bruises on my chest. Turns out I had a huge tumor in my chest which had grown around my heart and was compressing the superior vena cava so blood couldn't flow back down from my head. Not great. The good news is that it turned out to be very treatable and I've been cancer-free for 11 years now. PSA. Unintended weight loss or finding blood where you normally wouldn't. Get yourself to a doctor. Testicular cancer survivor here. I had a dull pain one day in my right testicle. Didn't think much of it. I then took a shower and my ball felt different. It wasn't smooth. I just felt that something was different. I went to my doctor and asked him to check them to make sure things were normal. He did the check and didn't think things felt off but ordered an ultrasound anyway. I went and did the ultrasound. And I didn't hear what they found. They just asked me to go back for another ultrasound. The next day I got told I had to go to the hospital to see the urologist. Within minutes of meeting the doctor, he told me I had testicular cancer and was having surgery that night. It happened so fast. I caught mine early. Now I tell everyone to feel your balls and know you're normal. I was about 12 and I noticed a gray spot in my left eye, so I went to the eye doctor. It turned out to be retinoblastoma. And fast forward about 1 week I had my eye removed and started chemo. And now have a glass eye that has to get redone every 2 years until I was 16. Last year, March 2019, I, male. 35, woke up in the morning to go to the toilet. I was urinating pure, thick blood with little lumps in it. So after a severe panic attack it began to hurt like hell. I was throwing up from the pain. After a day in the hospital and some scans and tests later, they told me to call my parents. So you know you're getting some bad news. It turns out it was kidney cancer. They removed my right kidney. Fortunately no other treatments were needed. And I'm living the best life right now. If the tumor in my kidney didn't started to bleed I would have found out much later. Probably too late. My Nana, she had very loose bowel movements, which had caused her to get dehydrated. Her levels for electrolytes were way out of normal range. She later found out that she had a cancerous mass on her ovaries. They caught it in time and she went through surgery and chemotherapy. Everything is fine now. I felt a pop in my back. It was actually a vertebra breaking. I had severe pain after, and was later diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a blood cancer. That was 5 years ago, and today I am in remission. I was diagnosed at 43. For 2 years my gynecologist insisted that I get a mammogram as part of turning 40. I am very small-chested, so I thought it was a complete waste of time. In February 2013 I promised my doctor that I would get a mammogram before my next annual appointment. I was diagnosed in February 2014. Stage 2 breast cancer. There was absolutely no signs or indication. No family history. All the way up to the pathology results from the biopsy. I thought it was all a complete waste of time and money. The results came back positive. My cat found my cancer and bugged me about it until I went to the doctor. My cat has always liked to lay on me and knead part of my body with her paws. For 7 years it was random. Various parts of my body. Then for about 6 months she started to focus on one spot on my chest. At first I chalked it up to her wanting to be closer to my face. But after a couple months I noticed that the spot she was focused on had become very tender. Then I felt a small lump in that spot. Due to my relatively young age, it took me a couple of months to convince one of my doctors that it was a potential issue. But eventually I got tested and had a pretty giant tumor in that spot, plus other tumors elsewhere. Yes, Kitty got lots of cuddles, wet food, and greenies as a thank you. I had what I thought was a stoke and found out I have a glioblastoma. I was given 12 to 15 months and so far I've made it to the 15th month. I was in a drum line in middle school and we used to do this thing with the drumsticks to sting one another. This kid got me real good on my shoulder blade. And it caused an irritated growth. Doctor told us that it wouldn't go away on its own and would have to be removed. While in surgery to have it biopsy, my mom pointed out another bump on my back. And asked the surgeon if it was the same thing. He replied no, and that it was fine. My mom insisted, asking him to remove it just in case so we wouldn't have to come back, and he did. The second biopsy got infected and I had to go on antibiotics. Unknown at the time, the antibiotic prescribed to me I was allergic to, which did not have a good result. Got a call back for a results appointment that just happened to be on my 14th birthday. The surgeon never looked at me or said happy birthday. He just read the results and said sorry before leaving. It was scale 4 malignant melanoma. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. See you next time.